Is Judgment Day looming? Is the hammer about to fall? On who? Well, on many very senior Labour politicians, on this government, on councillors, on very senior police officers, on social services staff, on media figures, on politicians of all flavours, not just Labour ones, and on anyone who has spent the last 20 years denying what's been going on in many towns in this country. So Keir Starmer caved in, albeit while he's out in Canada, caved in and has announced that there will be a national inquiry into the grooming gangs. This is despite having spent his entire time since he came into the Prime Minister's job denying that it was a problem, basically, and calling anyone who named it for what it was, a far-right conspiracist, a far-right agitator, a bigot, a gammon, anything else, alt-right, extremist, etc. So now the chickens are coming home to roost, to use an old-fashioned phrase. And I think if he thinks that by announcing this inquiry, he can wriggle out from under what's coming, I think he's wrong. You've got people like Andrew Neil, who, like him or hate him, is one of the most experienced and elderly political journalists in this country. He's got to be well into his 70s, late 70s now, I'd imagine. Wrote an article in the newspaper over the weekend saying, I've been covering politics for 55 years. And I can honestly say that in my experience, I've never come across any government that so routinely lies, obfuscates and gaslights the public the way that this one does. It's a bit of a statement from such a senior journalist. And what's going to happen next? Well, I would imagine that this inquiry will do its absolute best to, again, cover things up and not really expose the truth. But the problem is now that the genie is out of the bottle, because now that this has been announced, the people that have been genuinely banging this drum for many, many years, that have genuinely done good work on this, people amongst the victims like Sammy Woodhouse, people amongst the caller-outers like Mr. Robinson, people amongst some of the journalists like Charlie Peters on GB News, many people that have gone under the radar and that have been slated for saying these things can now openly speak about it without fear of being labelled and without fear of being condemned and without fear of even being arrested, which is what's been going on in the past. So whatever the official line might be, whatever the inquiries might say, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to not be faced up with the truth. So what do I hope? Well, I hope that anyone involved in this is not just outed and shamed and publicly named, but is arrested and charged. So if it comes to light that politicians of any flavour, Labour or Conservative, have conspired to brush any of this under the carpet, have actively conspired to cover it up, any police officials, whether that's policemen on the beat or superintendents or chief inspectors or inspectors, any senior social services figures, any local media figures, any community leaders, anyone whatsoever who is shown to have been involved in this needs to get banged up for lengthy periods. Just saying, oh, well, we made a mistake, or we're sorry, or we didn't know is not good enough. This has ruined tens of thousands of girls' lives. We're not talking about a bit of a misdemeanor here. We're not talking about, for example, the Horizon scandal in the post office, which was terrible and which resulted in people taking their own lives and people ending up in prison. That was awful. But those people were adults. We're talking about 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old girls here that were effectively sold as pieces of meat, that were abused, raped, tortured, in some cases killed. Children. This is the biggest scandal in this country that I can ever remember, certainly since the war, certainly in 100 years. By far, by a distance. It's an absolute national disgrace, and it cannot be allowed to stand. And anyone involved in it needs to head to the chopping block. They need to be gone from political life, gone from public life, have their careers ended and be publicly disgraced. Everyone, absolutely everyone. A list of 9 very senior Labour MPs who have sought to downplay this and who played the right-wing card over the last year have been named. They include Keir Starmer, David Lammy, Yvette Cooper, Lucy Powell, Bridget Phillipson, I think Wes Streeting was included on that list, Jess Phillips, Lisa Nandy. They all need to be publicly disgraced, called out, sacked, lose their jobs. And I would imagine there's a lot of the younger, newly elected Labour MPs considering their future and thinking, what do we do here? Do we support this government, who are obviously on their knees, or do we do the right thing and the honourable thing and vote against them? And bear in mind, when this came to a vote, when there was a vote on a national inquiry, was it January or February of this year? Can't remember exactly when it was, but certainly about 4 or 5 months ago. Every single Labour MP, every one of them, without fail, voted against it. Every single one of them. Yet now their own leader has gone, oh, well, yeah, well, new evidence has come to light and maybe we should have one. No, new evidence hasn't come to light. This evidence has been there for 10 years, for 15 years. People have been calling it out for 10 years or 15 years. And those people have had their lives ruined for calling it out. One man in particular that we all know. So I have zero sympathy for any of them. On your heads be it. You did this and now you need to pay the penalty. Sorry, and I should add as well, because I want to try and be even-handed here. The Conservative Party don't get off lightly here, because it's been on your watch for the last 14 years before the Labour Party got in. So you've now suddenly all come running to the scene and said, oh, well, yeah, we voted for a public inquiry, national inquiry. Yeah, but you didn't do anything in the previous 14 years. So you're equally as guilty. You may not be quite as guilty as the Labour Party, because most of these things happened in Labour constituencies, but you had the opportunity to do something about it and you did bugger all. So don't you dare start to claim that you're the good guys, because you ain't.